Before we begin, please listen to the following important public service announcement from the Honorable Judy Heumann. Judy is the former United States Assistant Secretary of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services in the Clinton administration and the former U.S. State Department Special Advisor for International Disability Rights in the Obama administration. Recently, Judy starred in the Netflix documentary Crip Camp.
Hello, my name is Judy Heumann. I'm here today to encourage you to please take your COVID vaccine. And if you have friends and family that haven't, please encourage them also. COVID is to be taken seriously. In addition to taking the vaccine, please use other protective methods. Wear a mask, use gloves, and sanitize frequently. If you need additional information and you live in Eastern Oregon, you can contact EOCIL. Thank you, and protect yourselves and the community.
Welcome everyone to Voices in Action, a podcast by Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, a global disability resource and advocacy center. And I'm your host, Almader Perez. And over the course of seasons 2 and 3, we're going to be covering a variety of topics related to EOCIL's core priorities. And these are driven by the conviction that we, people with disabilities, are the experts about our own needs and issues. And we operate from a non-judgmental, projection-free service delivery approach. And our services are designed to promote empowerment and balanced life of serenity in a place of chaos. And if you'd like to know more about the services and programs that we have available, I encourage everyone to check us out online at eocil.org. These services range from independent living resources, crisis and emergency response, HIV awareness and prevention, to LGBTQIA+ and Two-Spirit community advocacy and services. So once again, if you'd like to know more about all the services and programs we provide, please check us out online at eocil.org. We will be speaking to individuals with lived experiences, leaders of global and local advocacy organizations, and people responsible for developing and implementing policies that affect our daily lives. And we will learn from each other along the way. Today, I will be speaking with Timmie Turley regarding her experience being a transgender female. So Timmie, if you would like, please, introduce yourself and let people know who you are and kind of where you started out.
I'm Timmie Turley. I'm 51. I came out almost 2 years ago as gender fluent female, transgender female, and I grew up in the Boise area, Boise, Idaho, and moved to Ontario about 3.5 years ago. And I grew up knowing that things were right with me inside, and I hid it from everybody. And I decided that a little before I turned 50 that I was going to go through reassignment surgery, learning the things that I needed to do to achieve my reassignment surgery. It's been an exciting experience. I live full-time gender fluent as a female, and I'm working with a lot of different agencies throughout Eastern Oregon, and I've had pretty good experiences. I work with a doctor out of St. Luke's that I'm her first gender patient, and working towards reassignment. So it's a learning process for her at the St. Luke's group in Fruitland, Idaho. I work with Life Aways, and it's a counseling center in Ontario, Oregon, that for gender mental health issues. Working towards getting my 4 letters in to OHSU University Hospital in Portland, Oregon, at the Transgender unit, and so far it's been good.
That's good to hear. So before we get into kind of the details of your whole journey of coming out and being a transgender, I was just kind of hoping to start off with getting like a background of like how you kind of grew up that way, because a lot of people grow up in different environments. Some people grow up in families that are very accepting right away, that they don't hold no discrimination, or they don't stigmatize people because of what they prefer, what they do, how they identify. And then other times you get families where from a young age you're raised that it's only one way, that it's only supposed to be man and woman, that a man can't be a female, and vice versa. So I kind of want to understand, your experience. How did you grow up? Like from a young age, how was your household life? What views did you guys hold, or how did you guys go on in a daily way?
I grew up with my mom and my sister and a few stepdads, um, and it was pretty much like male female. It wasn't taboo in my house, but it wasn't really talked about a lot either. The process, I went through some things at a real young age that I didn't know about until probably 10 years ago, and that has played a big part in it. I was a childhood during my younger childhood. I went through a pretty traumatic experience of sexual molestation, and so I was sheltered, by my mom and my sister and my family. It kept it pretty low key, and then growing up in and around Boise, Idaho, I knew a lot of the different community members, and I took the hard road. Um, I chose criminal activity and addiction, and that my family didn't take to that. So I spent quite a few years inside of the Idaho Correctional Facility, and when I come out of prison, I was on parole for a little bit, and my mom made me promise not to go back if I went back to top it out. So I did. I ended up topping it out, topping my time out, coming out, and I've been out 10 years, and I'm the only out of my mom and my sister and myself and my dad. I'm the only one that's left alive. They've all passed away. But some of my children, they accept it. Some of my nieces and nephews accept it, and they're supportive. My best friend's parents are supportive. That's who I stay with right now. And growing up over there, I grew up with a pretty tough group. Most of us come from troubled homes, and we were street kids. Did the norm. We hung out together. We partied together. We did what we had to do, and but I was always the one off by myself.
Okay. And at that point, like when you were young, how old would you say you were when like all that stuff was happening within like your home life, with between you getting in trouble, getting into the wrong crowd? How old were you during
So
those time periods?
I started hitting the wrong crowd between the ages of 10 and 13 because I chose to try to stuff a lot of things in and cover it up with my addiction. Um, that played a big role in my life and in the way that um, I played out in and out of juvenile hall, St. Anthony's Youth Service Center, um, and then off to the penitentiary as a young adult, and I spent a lot of time there, and I learned a lot to help myself out here to stay out of prison while I was in those correctional facilities. And being inside, I I knew everybody, I knew all the other inmates, but I kept to myself and I didn't share a lot about how I felt about myself. My growing up years, I always hid the fact that I would dress up as a girl from everybody. one of those things that I got tired of hiding.
Yeah. So, what age then would you say that you kind of realized that, what everyone else labeled you as wasn't who you were? And what kind of like sparked that idea for you?
So I was in my mid to late 20s when I came out to my, I think it was my third wife, and she was pretty accepting. It kind of, and I was in and out of trouble, so I couldn't really express myself as a female. But my female, as for my female, being a female, I was really uncomfortable around other males. So I related more with females, and it was easier to talk to a female about being female.
Okay. And then I heard you mention there that you were married then with a wife. Were you in that relationship trying to kind of like hide something, or was it like a front, like hopefully no one notices that I don't feel the same way, or you
Um,
know,
some of it was hiding, yeah, and some of it wasn't. I mean, I was straight as a male, and I'm lesbian as a female, and so and that's because I felt more comfortable around females because of the things that had happened to me when I was young. Being in a relationship with my ex-wife at that time, I could I felt I could trust her enough to understand, and she did, and it was a quiet thing between me and her. I could live the what was called the normal life too, being a male, work every day, and
and
then
she was very accepting of that, like, or how did she handle that news?
she was pretty accepting of it. She thought it was pretty funny at first, and knew that I wasn't trying to put it out to the people that I knew wouldn't accept it.
Hmm.
So in a way, she enabled me to to hide it too. But I was pretty honest with her about it, and at that point in time in my life, I hadn't thought about reassignment.
Hmm.
And that relationship ended because I was in the penitentiary, and she couldn't be alone. And when I came out um, of the pen, I got with another lady, and it took a while, but I came out to her, and she was seemed to be okay and accepting with it. And then things progressed into a different deal. She tried to use it against me, and it separated us. Some pretty traumatic things have happened out of her doing that. Um, and then for I hid it up until um, 3 years ago. Yeah,
Almost 3 years.
yeah.
Because I was gonna lead me into my next question. Because when you mentioned that you know, you shared your feelings with your previous wife and that she was very accepting. Like when you were younger, was there any fear of you coming out? Like who were the people that you thought you could come out to, but were gonna be supportive, or who did you think would have your back in the situation, or kind of what was your feeling towards coming out?
So in the younger growing up years, my mom was pretty supportive of me, and my sister was. They were my rock, and um, but because I was a boy, they tried to steer me towards the beer being a boy.
And how old were you when you let them know, or did they kind of have a hunch themselves?
So they knew from when I was a young age. Um, I found out through my own investigation, going back to my medical records, that I was when I was born. I was born a twin, and both myself and my twin brother were born. Our genital area weren't fully developed, And my dad had made the decision for both of us to be assigned boys.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom and my sister knew I had a lot of medical problems growing up as a kid, and because of those medical problems, I was always, how do I put it? I had problems with my bowels, so I had accidents all the time, and we'd be somewhere and mostly around females. So the that in doing so, I was need to borrow a pair of underwear, and it was female underwear, and it progressed. There, they they didn't tease me about it. They didn't shun me about it. They they were pretty accepting, and um, that's where it went from there. Uh, for a long time, for me, I would I would hide the fact that I wore female underwear or nylons, and every so often dress up as a girl.
Yeah.
Where I felt more comfortable. I felt more comfortable in female clothes than I did male clothes. At,
Okay.
when I'm a teenager and all the way up through the years. I think back over the years, not being able to feel comfortable as a male in today's society, it's had a lot of effect on my life.
Really? And
And
could you go into detail on that? Like how did you handle that emotionally, knowing that you feel more comfortable in women's clothing, but you kind of needed to hide that from everyone and dress as a male, dressed in a more masculine manner. How did you handle that emotionally? Like, did you have someone to go to that you could talk to? No one, or did
no,
you just
I didn't have anybody really I could talk to until I hit my mid 30s, and I knew that. I mean, from the way the normal life in society was growing up, boys were boys and girls were girls, and you dressed a certain way and did certain things. For me, I stuffed a lot of it down with drug addiction, and that being in active addiction, it just got pushed away,
yeah.
and so then ending up in trouble. Um, I I spoke to I had a lot of mental health issues, a lot of anger, a lot of depression. I got involved in a dual diagnosis program inside the penitentiary, um, and I didn't really talk a lot about it with the group, but I was forthcoming with some things that had happened to me, uh, um, you know, abuse wise, and opened up to a counselor. From there, um, when I come out of the pen, I opened up to my wife, my third wife, and my fourth one. And after that, taking a bad turn with my fourth wife, I I stuffed it again and stayed in. I I stayed away from the area of that. Um, I tried to do the normal thing as a boy, um, married, kids, and it worked for a while. And for I would say probably um, right about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So I I just got to the point where I didn't care what other people thought, you know,
Yeah.
and I came out. I did it gradually with my wife that I'm currently we're currently separated and seeking a divorce, because I am seeking reassignment.
Okay.
And
Excited about that. I could
oh
tell
yeah,
if you
yeah,
guys could see him. She's smiling. But yeah, and I'm gonna get into that a little bit later on during this episode because I want to know what that process is, if it was easy, difficult, and that way other people who might have questions can also kind of know about it. But I just kind of wanted to circle back then to kind of you mentioned that some trauma against with the fourth wife that you had with her using the information about you coming out to her against you in a hurtful way. You know, what kind of traumas or discrimination or stigma have you faced throughout your life because of the
So
fact that you are transgender, because you feel different than what everyone else thinks is
so a lot of it was a lot of the the trauma come from uh, she because I was a male inmate, somebody on parole that was male in a male institution. Um, she tried to have me raped and to put me in my place. I guess it was, um, and I was pretty overbearing. I wouldn't let nobody get close to me, which made it really hard for me to come out to people and let them know. Um, just I felt it wasn't accepted because of the way society was, the way um being in the position that I was uh, inside a prison and then out on parole. Um, Parole officers didn't take to it real well either. Um, it just wasn't accepted.
yeah.
So with the trauma with my fourth wife, um, a lot of problems. We were in drug addiction, and she tried to use it against me because um, some of the old affiliations that I was with, I put myself into a position that I did what I had to do while I was inside the penitentiaries to survive. In doing so, my ex-wife tried to use it against me with the affiliations that I had, and I I moved through many years of through a hate group, and I was allowed to switch over to part of my heritage, which is Native American, and I took my walk and inside the penitentiary of the adult penitentiary with the Native Circle, and I was a liaison between the natives and the whites, and
And what does that mean for people who don't know?
a liaison is somebody that can help work out issues and keep a better tie of communication.
Okay, and that's because you are mixed.
I'm mulatto. I'm Nez Perce, which is Nimi Poo, Yakima blood. I'm half blood, and I'm white. And I was I always tried to treat everybody I was around inside the penitentiary, no matter what their crime was or their color. Um, I always try to treat everybody equally, and if somebody was there for a bad crime, um, I didn't want to know. You know what I mean? And that's what I told them. If it's better not to know what you're here for, and just know you personally.
Yeah.
So um, the Native Circle helped me a lot. They they helped me calm down from being a hothead and an angry person um, to laid back somebody that could help others um, and in the process of doing my red road walk, the Native brothers out there they always push the brothers towards something positive, not trying to do um, if they can push you to get something positive going and to be out on the streets, that's how they work.
Yeah.
and they didn't want the negativity. So they pushed me towards the programming inside the penitentiary, and I went through a program, pretty intensive program, um, a therapeutic community, and I graduated and became a an intern, which is somebody that was teaching,
Okay.
and it was a way for me to give back to the other guys that were just coming in and facing the things that I and other people had faced, and a tool to be able to make it out here successfully.
That's good to hear then that really did help you. And for those people who don't know, like a lot of the Native American and indigenous people have the two spirit belief. Can you
Yes.
break that down for us for like the people who don't understand or have never heard of that term? Because I remember when I first started here, we have a two spirit community. I wasn't quite sure what that was, but just because it was always tied in with the LGBTQ community services, I figured I had to do something with along those lines. And it wasn't until later down the road, the longer I've been working here at EOCIL, that I became familiar with what Two Spirit is and what it's all about and the meaning behind it. For those listening out there, can you kind of break it down on what Two
So
Spirit is?
Two Spirit Native American is like a minister or a shaman, or it's a medicine man, medicine woman, and they're both genders inside their body, whether they live as a female or whether they live as a male, gender wise, doesn't really play a role in the two spirit. It's more towards the spiritual side of things. They're looked upon very well for the truest things about, advice. People come to them for advice, and um, a lot of them run sweats inside a sweat lodge, which is a very spiritual place for the Native American men and women. And I, for myself, being two spirited, I try to carry myself in a good way and follow the practices that you know, not only my tribe, but um, my family, um, and what creators put in front of me. Um, and it's it's hard to it's hard to explain, but it's pretty simple. I growing up, I wasn't that religious, but they taught me a way that that I could comprehend religion,
Yeah.
and the practices behind it, and to carry myself out to give back to to give back to the community, um, and suffer for the ones that can't suffer.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like a quick like summary of what it means to be two spirit. And I know I'm still learning a lot about that community and what it means to be two spirited and like all the special things that you guys do within that community. Like you mentioned the sweat lodge, going in there, having the spiritual journey within yourself to realize, what there is inside of you, walking on the ground as, you know, let's say a male, but being within yourself a female spirit and a male spirit in one. So I always thought it was quite fascinating, and I know a lot of times when we bring it up, because it's on a lot of our like pamphlets and brochures, we have the two spirit on there, and a lot of people question it, asking, what is that? What does that even mean? Like, what is that associated with? And to be able to educate people and let them know that this has been going on for a long time. It's not just like a new term that just popped up. It's been happening for a while. It's a tradition. It's things that made their tribe who they are. But that was kind of like the backstory, and I kind of want to move on towards now that you've come out. What, 3 years ago you fully came out? You now dress how you want to dress.
I'm
Uh,
fully gender fluent, so I dress the same as a female. Um, day and night. I don't. Um, there's no cross gender with me, and I'm more comfortable being female. Um, and I'm comfortable with myself, and I'm comfortable with the things that are I do and go to. Um, Coming out was a little rocky because I was still in a relationship with my wife, and uh, I was living with my best friend's parents, and they took it that there was something traumatic happened with me, and um, they didn't um, didn't shun me. They just they took time and to kind of figure out, try to help them accept where I was going,
Yeah.
and being open with them about it.
Yeah, and were you scared of like what they would think of you? Like, what would your thinking process behind that? Were you afraid that they'd just completely shun you out, they'd ridicule you, or was it kind of like, I'm
Yeah.
not, they can take it however they want to take it. I'm happy with myself and who I am.
So I was a little concerned and a little scared of um what my wife and the my best friend's parents, and my family too, about it. But on the other hand, um, I didn't really care what they thought. The process of I love them and I care for them, and I want their acceptance,
But you don't need it.
but I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Um, it was I did this for me. I came out for me. When asked about it, um, are you sure you want to go through with your reassignment? Hell yeah. Um, it's something that I feel for me, it's the right thing. And going through all the different changes, it's been it's been pretty exciting for me.
I know, and I've gone to talk to you about it a little bit. Like when I first met you, I believe Kurt was the one that introduced me to you, and we sat down and talked about like all the services that we provide here at EOCIL. Our referrals, everything that we do for the community and stuff like that. So we got to talk a little bit, privately about like what it is that you're all doing, and I really do want to get into that later on because I think it's important for other people who might be questioning it or might be considering it themselves to kind of hear your experience along that journey with like how you interact with doctors, what that process is like, the waiting times, the periods, like how
Right.
far you had to travel because especially here in like rural Oregon, yes, we have Boise that's not that far away from us here in Ontario, but other people who live a little bit more inward of Oregon where it is quite a ways to get out to like Portland area or to Boise or another major city, kind of like sharing your experience living kind of in a low rural area, how far you had to travel, what you need to do,
Right.
the ease of access for that help and those services that you need or that you want or you feel that would be beneficial for you. But just before we get into kind of that topic, like when you came out, what were some of like the things that you started noticing? Did like people start treating you differently, like when you went to the store or in your social life or
So
stuff like that?
here in this community, in Ontario, Oregon, I got a few comments from people that weren't accepting. But overall, um, people are really polite in our community, and there there's it's my experience. They don't shun me, but there's a group that does, um, and that's okay for them. For me, when I go to the store, um, I get smiles and hellos, and seeing the same people over and over in the small community. Um, in the store, they'll wave and say hello, and we'll go on about our deal. And I haven't had really any bad experiences inside a store or walking through the community. Um, I've got some comments about, is that a guy or a girl? Um, and I tell them, I'm female. And if they really ask more about it, I try to explain to them that I'm in transition, seeking reassignment. And it's exciting for me. And it's also a chance to share with somebody that may or may not be going through it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about for me is helping. If there's somebody else out there that's going through the same thing, I want to be able to relay how they can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, in case, something is said, like where they go, because I know firsthand we've experienced it here. We were running an event over in La Grande, and we had our booth set up, and on our booth we have a backdrop that lists all of our services on there, and on there, specifically it mentions all of our services for Two Spirit and the LGBTQI plus community, and we got approached by a gentleman, older in age. But yeah, I experienced firsthand hate bias, and unfortunately, the worker I was there with, I won't mention, but he happens to be part of the LGBTQ community, and from the moment that the gentleman approached us and started saying his remarks, I can sense the uncomfortable nature of my coworker at the time, and me personally, I didn't know how to react to it, and that was not because I didn't care or just didn't want to deal with it. It was because I didn't want to induce further trauma. Because if I were to interact with that individual and tell him to go away, was he gonna speak up? Was he gonna make the situation worse? Was he gonna cause a bigger scene? Further, increasing the uncomfortable scenario that we're already in there with him, saying some pretty hateful and derogatory things. Was I gonna just escalate that? So on my end, I kept somewhat quiet. Obviously, I wasn't going to let him say whatever he wanted, but firsthand, I've experienced that. So the reason I asked you was for when people come up to you and say remarks. There is help. There's the hate bias hotline that you can always call in and report these incidences. And there's certain procedures that the law enforcement is supposed to take when something like this happens. They're supposed to go out there and investigate the situation, talk to the individual that made the remarks, because it is a serious nature, and that way we can get them into the database. That way, in case a further incident does occur, like an act of violence, then we haven't noted that this person has been flagged for making hate bias remarks in the past, and we can keep the community safe, because the last thing we want is for someone to get injured
Right.
because of someone else's views.
The so I'm going through a process right now with two different things. Um, I'm on the hate line media through the Attorney General's office in Salem, Oregon, and that gets the investigation going, and it's done, and it's their investigation is done through satellite imaging and sound wave technology
Mm-hmm.
under the Geneva Act of 1992. Um, so the process of it is if you call the Attorney General's hate lines in whatever state you're in, um, they'll call you back. They'll ask permission to if you have lawyers, if you have an attorney, to get a hold of your attorney and then coordinate with your attorney, which they're doing with mine. And I gave them permission. I gave them my attorney's numbers. Um, the attorneys have all they're all on board. And then through reporting it to the local authorities, um, I had to report somebody was calling in and changing appointments of mine, doctor's appointments, um, rides, scheduled medical rides, and canceling them. And I've had to go to an extent of obtaining a stalking order, protection order here. And it started with just my ex-wife, but a group that she is a part of out of Idaho and Eastern Oregon, and they're an outing group, internet, cybernet, and public outing group. And at this point in time, um, they're doing everything they can to out me on everything that I do, publicly on the internet. Um, and I've I'm going through the court process. Um, I've been twice for them to be able to serve her and her group with a lifetime stalking order. Oregon plays it really seriously on this issue. Um, under their stalking protection orders, it goes from civil to criminal, back to civil in the courts, and uh, it's a lifetime thing, and it hits all the databases, um, their names, um, their description, everything, who they're affiliated with. Down, I was pretty surprised. Um, the officers are all like, um, when I contact them, um, they they're very polite. They tell me we're trying to get her served. Any help you can give them, any information you can give the local authorities about it, helps. And I'm working that process through this one with my ex-wife. Um, and her, she's a member of an advocate group, uh, and they go after um, every part of your life.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to be able to like familiarize yourself with the help and the laws around this stuff, and being able to know that you can call a hot bias hotline number. Like, even if you don't want to make it yourself, you can always reach out to one of us here at EOCIL to do that for you, to help you out with the process, because it can be traumatic for some people, especially to relive the events, having to describe what they went through. Depending on the situation, it can be traumatic, and just further the damage caused by the individual who made the remarks or made the comments or is doing those inappropriate acts. So anyone listening that is curious about what's available, what help there is, you can always reach out to us. And I say this every episode, but we have 5 office locations: one in Ontario, one in Pendleton, one in the Dalles, and one in Burns, and then a newly one in La Grande. And we have staff personnel there that are trained with trauma-informed care, that are able to connect you with the proper personnel to be able to help, fill out a hot bias hotline report, to be able to make these calls, to be an advocate for people who feel like they don't have a voice. Because it is important, because there are hurtful things that, are said to people, and that just further increases the pain and suffering of that individual who's just trying to live their life. Um, and it's really difficult, because I saw it firsthand. Growing up myself in a small town, I grew up in a religious family, so for the longest of times, I saw it as, it's only a man and a woman. A man can't be a female can't be a man. Um, all that's just make believe. That's how I grew up, and it wasn't until like very long after like leaving high school and leaving that small town that I started to like realize, like, I just want to be treated like a normal person. I don't want to be treated differently because of my views. So why am I going to be judging someone else, right? So, like, if you're living your best life, live your best life. I'm for it, because I want to be living my best life. Right. So I don't want to be carrying that, hateful thoughts about anyone else when I don't want it towards me. So, and I've battled with that a long time, and for a while as well. Being able to accept everyone for who they are, and then even like this pronoun thing. I know before I started recording this podcast with you, I just kind of apologize in advance, because I'm still working on that, and being able to say people's pronouns appropriately. And granted, it's been 22 years that I've known it one way, and to be able to switch it right away, it's still tricky for me. But I apologize in advance, because I never want to come off as rude or disrespectful. So I'm still working on that. And I've gotten to know a lot more people in the community. I had an experience once with a friend of mine who I went to high school with. We all knew him. He was a good friend of ours, and it wasn't until college that one day I saw him and he was wearing a skirt. I was like, that's interesting. Then the next time I saw him, he was wearing a scarf and he had longer hair. His nails were done. I was like, okay, I think I see what's happening here. None of us knew. We kind of teased him in high school about it, but he never said that he felt a certain way or that he identified differently. We just, we were just ignorant high school kids at that time. So when I saw him in college, I was like, okay, so when we were teasing him, like it was a lot more serious than just a tease. It
Right.
was actually him trying to hide it or him not trying to come out during that time because like we were just picking on him just because we thought it was funny and he's actually dealing with that internally and like who knows what that could have led to. But I heard some news that he was going through the whole gender reassignment, was on hormone therapy, and the mistreatment that he got actually led him to take his own life. Not only was it by immediate family members, but it was through the improper care of the medical staff who were giving him the wrong therapy treatment, and instead of making him a lot more feminine, it made him a lot more masculine. So
Right.
that took a toll on him mentally, and he ended up taking his own life. So that was my first experience with that, with having like a friend that I saw in high school every day, teasing him every once in a while because to me what he was doing was girly or something like that. That was my way of thinking back in the day, and you know, hearing that news, I was like, wow, like the damage that I could have like indirectly caused or directly caused to him during high school, like I felt guilty hearing that and knowing that I could have been a cause for that maybe if I was more accepting or educated myself more, that I could have been like, hey man, like how's it going, like hope you're doing all right, checking in on him or on her, my apologies, on checking in on her. But yeah, so it's been like a real life experience to know that people can hide it really well and then until it's too late.
Right. You know, my experience with it is almost everybody that's going through the same things, the gender and identity, or um, you know, they they um, they step out as gay or lesbian, um, transgender, um, queer, however you want to put it. The thing of that people don't realize is that the traumatic and the trauma that's caused within each one of us that are is pretty serious. For me, the outing it's taking its toll, and for the most part, I try to stay on a positive note. It's brought a lot of anger out of me. I'm not I'm not angry. It's more hurt, and the process that I'm doing is what I feel everybody that's in the same position should do. Um, be very open and honest. Don't hide it. Speak about it. Speak to everybody about it. Whether it be a counselor, your teacher, um, your doctor. I speak with my doctor. I speak with my mental health counselor. Peer support. Um, I speak. I speak here openly about it, and I speak to law enforcement about it. It's not being a stool pigeon and a rat. It's self-preservation. If you hold it in, you're going to destruct, and a lot of times um, it leads to the suicide attempts, um, worse worse addiction, or yet ending up in a correctional institution, and then it even gets worse. But so the encouragement is seek seek the help. Tell your best friend. Tell your parents. Tell your coworkers. Um, talk to counselors. Seek not just your regular doctor. Speak to them about it because um, today's society, I'm very very I consider myself very lucky. I've had a couple bad experiences with emergency room doctors when yet the rest of the staff are very accepting. Um, And my doctor, she was accepting right from the front. She asked openly, um, and she's helping me through my process for the reassignment. Um, and it's a lengthy process, and um, she's referred me to others inside the mental health and medical field to help. There's a lot of really good help out there for everybody. The process is um, seek it out. If you don't know, if it's because you haven't asked. That's how I found out. I asked and get on the internet and check out certain words, transgender. However,
Yeah, yeah, and then like if you have any questions, you can also come in here. I know Ashley Jones out of our Pendleton office does a really great job with our LGBTQ community hosting events. Either it's once a month or twice a month. They get together. They have like fun days, karaoke nights, board game nights. They do a bunch of fun things to get the community together to make sure that they know that they're not alone and that there's other people out there. Throughout the entire month of June during Pride Month, EOCIL actually hosts a ton of events all throughout Eastern Oregon. I had the pleasure of attending some and meeting a lot of great people. In Pendleton, we had a march down Main Street where the entire community got together. And for me, that was my first ever parade that I've been to that was for Pride Month. I had never participated in it. I've never seen, like, I've seen videos of it, obviously, but I never really took in what that
right,
is, that whole experience. So when I showed up there, I was thinking it's just gonna be like a normal event. People are just gonna come by the booth, say hi, and just go on with it. No, it's a whole experience. People are so joyful to be there, to be with people that are so accepting, to find people who've gone through similar experiences that they have, and to be in the place that they are right now is truly amazing. So when I showed up there, I was taken away by everyone. Everyone just had a sense of joy to them. Like, and you can even check us on online and look at the pictures that we've taken, either on like Facebook and Instagram. Just the amount of people that showed up for that event, you can just tell that everyone there is so accepting. That everyone there is actually being their true self, not having to hide from anyone, not having to, you know, lie about about who they are, because that's a really big problem. And I'm pretty sure I've shared this before, but I struggle with that, about being yourself 100%. Uh, I'm doing it right now. I grew up in a small town where I was the only Hispanic family there of all Caucasian people. So I wanted to fit in. So what did I do best is I didn't talk the way I talked to my parents or to my brothers when I was at school. I made sure I spoke clearly. I spoke slowly. I didn't have an accent. I didn't use slang words. I didn't slur. I tried to slow my speech down, and that just evolved to become a natural thing. So whenever I'm with my family, I sound a certain way. Whenever I'm with coworkers, I'm gonna sound a certain way. Especially right now with like the coworkers that I'm really close with, they've noticed and they've told me like, you sound different when you're talking to this other person or with this person, or why do you change your voice? And it's something that's ingrained in me because I want to fit in, because I want to be
right.
accepted. And these pride events are meant for people to express themselves freely, to let them be themselves. So, and that's something I battle with, is being myself. And right now I know I'm doing it subconsciously, is I'm trying to make sure I lower my voice, I speak slowly, even though I still tend to speak really fast, but I tend to speak slowly, enunciate better, and just have pauses in between my talk, because I want to be accepted, so to say. And I do that everywhere. I do that at home with my group of friends, with my coworkers, with my group of friends that I have in California, with the ones I have in Washington. I speak differently, so I don't have per se my own voice. I have voices that I use for different groups. So I'm still working on finding out who I am as a person.
Right. Coming to find out who you are as a person in any setting, it's not about what other people think.
Yep.
It's about what you think about yourself inside. And I battled with that a lot when I was growing up and did in different groups. And uh, I guess it fine tunes with age. You
Yeah.
know, the I'm a little bit older than you are,
Yeah.
and to sit and talk and with you, I can relate because I too I don't throw I don't throw a lot of slang out there when I'm with a professional group,
Yeah.
and I try to keep it professional. My home life, I have an I use my home is if you've been there once, go get it yourself. You know
Yeah.
that and crack jokes and try to laugh and have fun, and but when you come to the community and you try to carry yourself as a professional and to integrate that each setting you fine tune it all and sooner or later you're going to come down to where it's everybody you're at one level and I I don't need for myself I don't need somebody's acceptance but I do want it
Yeah.
and that's a natural thing for all of us is that need and that want of being accepted. Um, you've taken on one of the hardest jobs out here in society, in my eyes, to help people that are um, not so well accepted from the old days. Nowadays, um, the, the LGBTQ community it's starting more and more to progress of acceptance in society. Um, I'm not sure how to put this, but like I'm really pleased at this community.
Mhm.
Um, all the doctors I've been to, emergency room doctor, I understand they're on a little different height level. Um, I've had a couple problems with emergency room doctors, but general doctors, going into appointments, here in Ontario, I've never had any problems with any of them. Even over in Boise, stepping out with the St. Luke's group and the St. Alphonsus group, both very accepting people,
Yeah.
um, and willing to help um, in any area that they can help you with and point you in the right direction. That's my personal experience. Um, Same way with LifeWays and same way with ECAL. The community action, um, the federal subsidized housing, Section 8, um, group of people that work there in community action, LifeWays, St. Alphonsus Medical Group out here, St. Luke's. Um, they're they're awesome. Law enforcement. It's I'm ecstatically about how well they are. Um, I've dealt with quite a few of them in a good way, and um, in doing so for myself, I'm researching. I'm researching into trying to put an advocacy group together for to help with the constitutional issues and your civil rights too, because of the experiences that I've gone through, and that's the thing that I found the most helpful is I the places I visited just right here in Ontario, and then been sent out over to the Idaho side. Um, Idaho was a conservative state, and it wasn't well accepted. Nowadays, I'm finding that it's more and more the norm,
Yeah.
it's coming around here in Oregon. Um, I'm learning as you are,
Yeah.
to in the smaller communities branching out um, to encourage people the way to get it in is start out with your internet or your doctor or a counselor, and don't be afraid to open up and talk. That's the only way that you can um, one person, a doctor, can refer you to a counselor, or that counselor can refer you. Um, my peer support through Lifeways brought me here to
Yep.
ECAL. They helped me step into community action, which is an equal opportunity. They help you with housing, and getting you set up to where you can get into your own home. Um, Section 8 housing, awesome people. They're working the steps with me to put me into my own home. I encourage everybody, if even at a further date, if there's something I can do um, to help somebody advocate out there, um, please send it my way.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'll point out whatever I can.
Yeah, 'cause that's what it's all about, is just helping out, sending people to the right location so that they can get the best service that they need for themselves. But yeah, that's great. So kind of you touched on it a little bit about like kind of how good of an experience you've had so far with like your doctors. What is that process like? What all are you looking to get done on your
So
transition? And like, what is that process like? Time frames? Like, who do you have to go to? What are the steps and procedures for that?
so to do a reassignment surgery, um, you start out with a doctor, um, and you have to have a mental health counselor. It's a 2 year process
2 year
to
process.
even to get your foot to be able to have your reassignment. The mental health counselor has to send letters, and the criteria for those letters you can find for your doctor or your mental health counselor can find it online through OHSU University in Portland, Oregon, under the transgender assignment or transgender unit. Um, so with it, you work with the urologist department and the plastic department. Um, Plastic department, you can have facial feminization, hair removal, um, trachea rake, top surgery, which is breast implants or augmentation, or you can do it naturally. Um, Hormone therapy is through an endocrinologist, um, which I work with the St. Luke's group out of Meridian, Idaho. It's a little closer home, easier travel than going to Portland once or twice a month.
Yeah.
Um, and the vaginoplasty or vulvoplasty is to the urology department. And there's different places around the United States: Los Angeles, Houston, Texas, Virginia, uh, Wisconsin. For here in Oregon, um, Portland, Oregon, through OHSU is the place that we go through. Orchiectomy is another bottom surgery. So I just started with my hormone therapy, and I can't pronounce it right. It's a medication that it's a testosterone blocker. You'll once you get to your endocrinologist, your doctor refers you to them. They set you up with medications to if you're a male to female. Um, it blocks the testosterone, reduces the size of the testicles. Then they have prescribed estrogen, and you have to have a year gender fluent to be able to get your referral up to OHSU in Portland, Oregon. So you can and that the gender fluent is for a 2 year process, going to counseling for mental health, gender gender counseling, and with your doctor to be able to receive your letters. So in the first year, you go and you open with a doctor. Doctor helps you muscle softeners, things you need normally, making sure that your health's in order.
Yeah.
Um, and then you get your referral to your endocrinologist, which is a urologist, and it's hormone therapy. They set you up, help you set up a plan, and that's where things really start. For me, the breasts are starting to cone, the hourglass figure, body fat's starting to go in the right areas, and I'm at the step right now with later this week. I'm taking some information to my doctor, and she's writing letters to the two departments at OHSU, along with my gender counselor and my endocrinologist out of Meridian, Idaho. They'll convert all their letters up, a format letter. I am eligible for top surgery right now. I'm eligible for the trachea rake, facial feminization, hair removal. All this stuff can be found on the OHSU website. You can go in there and download it, or you can copy it off or read it. There's numbers in there to reach out to the team up there, the medical team. Once you're once you're up there with that medical team, a lot of things are done online. So I encourage people to set up an email, like they and I'm working that step right now, putting things together where I can a secure email, to work with my doctors up there. I've started the testosterone blockers. I've been on them about half a month. I've seen the results already, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for OHSU insurance to approve the estrogen right now. So, and it takes a little process through, if you're with Organ Health, changing my going to Social Security. You go in and do an application to change your sex with the Social Security Department, which is a really easy process. They help you. Really friendly people help you do it. I've changed it over at Health and Welfare, which is DHS, taking the steps with the doctor's offices, and then on your ID here in Oregon, which really surprised me, was the Driver's License Bureau is very, very open
Okay.
to help you. They help me. They help me right off the bat. When I walked in gender fluent, and the lady, she says, how do you address yourself? And I says, ma'am. And she goes, so how would you like it on your ID? And because I'm in transition, I figured that I would have to put transgender female.
Yeah.
And she's all like, how about we just put female? And I was like, we can do that without the legal name change or the doctors. And she's all like, yeah. And then she says, this is a step in your legal gender changing, and then you can do male, female, non-binary on your license,
Okay.
or your ID here in Oregon,
Yeah.
and it's recognized across the United States.
I didn't know that, so that's new information for me.
I I started out at the Driver's License Bureau. Community Action was helping me get my ID, and the ladies over there at the Oregon DMV here in Ontario, they were beautiful people. They stepped right up and helped me with the gender issue. And she's all like, "You're not the first one, but you're on the right track."
Yeah.
Take from there, going from the Driver's License Bureau to Health and Welfare, to Social Security. They were all friendly, and DHS. It takes a little process. It goes from when you open your case up as a male, and you change it over to a female. So they wait until your recertification, and you have to have it on your ID.
Yeah.
Okay. So then their process from there, you have to notify your doctors.
Okay.
Take it and take it from the doctor. The doctor, once they are notified, DHS sends it to their insurance company out of Portland. So that's a step there. Legal, in all this process, you're doing it also for your legal name change, which you can transgender health guidelines. It's online. You can get it there. It'll show you steps. Legal name change. You start a DMV. Then you apply to a court, the local courts
Okay.
for a legal name change. In Oregon, it costs $140 for your legal name change. I haven't started. I've started the process through all the other organizations. My next step in my journey is legal name change. I'm changing it from Timothy to Timmie, and my middle name Norman to Tippy, and I'm keeping my last name Turley.
Okay.
So I'm picking up the paper. On my way over today, I was going to stop and pick up papers, but they were closed at the Oregon Law Shop, and I was going to pick up the paperwork. You can also download that paperwork through Oregon courts online.
Okay.
Call your local your local courthouse, and they can help you direct you where you can download that paperwork instead of going in and paying for it. So you
Okay.
download it.
So it sounds like you've had then a pretty good experience, and I'm happy for you that you're finally getting all this set in motion after waiting all that time, the 2 years, getting all your augmentation scheduled, getting, on your hormone therapy. I'm just happy that you can finally start expressing yourself freely. I'm just thankful for you for being here and sharing your story, your experience with like everything you faced, who you've talked to, like, your story about coming out, the difficulties that you had in early childhood, and then later on with information getting used against you. So I really want to extend my gratitude towards you for sharing your experience. So before we close out, is there any final message you'd like to give out? Like is there something you really want people to remember or to look into, or like?
So I think the message that I have for the individuals out there that are going through the same things, seek the help. Ask, and don't be afraid to express yourself openly. And if you are in that position where you're being ridiculed or teased or intimidated, I encourage you openly to talk to somebody, whether it be in law enforcement, at the hospitals, a counselor, even your ministers. They'll help you direct ways. Your parents, your best friend, they can help you seek the ways to take care of it, where it keeps you safe, and you don't have to turn to something really bad.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Timmie, for your time. This has been the EOCIL podcast, and if you have any further questions about today or like to know more about the work that we do here at EOCIL, you can always visit us online at www.eocil.org, or you can drop in at one of our offices in The Dalles, Pendleton, LeGrand, Ontario, or Burns, and talk to one of our staff personnel. I've been your host, Amador Perez. Thank you. This has been Voices in Action, a podcast by Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living. And if you have any further questions, visit us at www.eocil.org or stop in at one of our 5 office locations in Burns, Ontario, The Dalles, Pendleton, and LeGrand.